Now, in honor of the late Tony Hall, the National Theatre Arts Company of Trinidad and Tobago welcomes you to a night of culture and entertainment as they present Tony Hall's classic play, Jean and Dinah. And joining us to talk more about this is Jean and Dinah themselves in the form of actresses Ruby Parris and Chanel Glasgow-Quesnel. Ladies, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You all should have seen these ladies before we went live. Like, they totally transformed into Jean and Dinah, knocking bottle, all kind of thing on set. The director was wondering if we should probably start the show with them doing their Jean and Dinah performance. Ladies, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having
Love
us.
the energy. I can see that you all are ready.
Of course.
Now, before we get into when the production is, where it's taking place, that sort of thing, tell us about the significance of this particular play. I mean, we mentioned it's Tony Hall's classic, but tell us about the significance of this one.
I think Jean and Dinah, of course, it's being done to honor Tony Hall, as you mentioned. But I think what's beautiful about it is that it holds a mirror to our society now. And even though it was written however many years ago, this is one of those plays that it is a classic because regardless how many times you do it, it'll always be significant.
Yeah.
The themes that are addressed in Jean and Dinah are things that we're still dealing with today. And they deal with it in a very raw, very honest, very unapologetic way that I think oftentimes when we speak about these themes, we mask it with humor. And Jean and Dinah, their honesty is what makes it funny because it makes us uncomfortable. But that same discomfort is what needs to be felt for you to have these hard conversations.
Yeah. Now, of course, many would have been introduced to Jean and Dinah from the Sparrow song, right? Jean and Dinah. And for many of us who don't understand, it's about prostitutes, right? And I think that's one of the very obvious things. So how are we using that as a form of holding up a mirror to society? What are we trying to get people to understand, not just about them, but about the culture as it were back then? I'm coming to you, Chanel.
Well, it's funny that you said that we know them from the Calypso because the Calypsonians obviously paint a picture of these women that did exist in that time, but that's not their only story. There's so much more to them, and I think that was one of the fun things, one of the interesting things we discovered while doing this production. It's that Jean and Dinah and many other women like them, something had to happen in their life for them to end up in this particular position. And what most society might see as a flaw or a weakness or judge them for them it's a strength. It's a badge of honor. It's a journey. And it's very important for us to be empathic towards different persons in society because we are all Trinidadians at the end of the day. And we are more similar than we are different. And I think that's the beautiful thing about understanding Jamet culture and certain things that people would probably turn an eye to or scoff at or judge. Just understanding that we're all human beings, but we're all Trinidadians.
What is Jamet culture? Chanel froze.
I think there's a stigma around what Jamet culture is.
Yes.
I think when you think of Jamet culture, the stereotype comes to mind, somebody who is loud and abrasive and aggressive. But for me, what I understand Jamet culture to be is somebody who's unashamed to be who they are and somebody who doesn't try to fit into what society decides that they should be. And that's something I think society fears. So you attach negative adjectives to it in order to almost reduce it or shun it.
There's a strength in it that's almost masculine, or what society would deem as masculine.
I like that you mentioned strength, Chanel. You know why? Because people often think that the Jamet culture also comes from like the lower echelon of society.
No.
Which is ironic.
You can find the Jamet in anybody in society. We all have a bit of Jamet in us when it's time, when it's ready to come out. And that's the beautiful thing about Tony's work. He deals with archetypes. Like, we know the traditional characters like the baby doll, the Jab Jab, the midnight robber. They are carnival characters that we see in costumes, but really and truly they are types of personalities. And it's personalities that you would find in Trinidad and Tobago, and the Jamet is one of those.
And just piggybacking on what Chanel mentioned about Tony's work, including these archetypes. Because as the play progresses, you see these different archetypes in different moments. And every Trinbagonian at some point in time actually naturally pulls on our traditional characters, whether we're aware of it or not. There's always going to be somebody that you could think of, like, he reminds me so much of a Jab Jab. He reminds me so much of a midnight robber. She reminds me so much of a Dame Lorraine. Like, just the way that we carry ourselves, the way that we tell stories, the way that we interact with each other in any environment, these different archetypes naturally come out. And what Tony's so brilliantly done is being able to identify in Trinbagonian, specifically Trinbagonian culture, where this stems from and ropes it into his work.
Interesting. Well, let's get to his work in particular. Tell us when it's taking place and where it's taking place.
So Jean Dinah takes place March 30th and 31st at Queen's Hall.
Right.
You can get your tickets at Queen's Hall's box office, Queen's Hall's website, or through our Instagram page, National Theatre Arts Company TT, on Instagram, and they're $80.
Now, one of the things I saw is that it said adults only.
Yes.
Particular reason for this, because remember we started off having the conversation in terms of who these women are and that they are more than you know the people on the corner, the women on the corner kind of thing. Don't we want to introduce children to this to show them exactly how this can be a negative stereotype?
Whilst I do understand the need to bridge that gap and understanding Jamet culture, understanding sex workers, and that see them as people, I do believe that this play deals with very adult themes that I think aren't. It won't be sensitive to have children there.
And if we want to actually pay homage to the work in its original writing and not have to dilute it or censor it, which is what the company felt like, the director felt like she had to do. And we feel strongly about that as well. We prefer to put it on as written. So strong language, very adult themes. So it's
Very
adults
adult
only.
content.
Very adult content.
Yes. Yeah. But is there ever going to be a diluted version, as you mentioned? And maybe not Jean Dinah, but like something else that can probably inform the younger generation about what's taking place?
Of course. I mean, there are lots of persons, apart from the National Theatre Arts Company, who hold workshops on, for example, we found out there was a workshop on flag woman culture. While we were doing the play, we heard about this workshop, and there are many people within society within the industry that holds different workshops. You can learn about flag culture, which is a very big part of Jamet culture. They were the original flag women back in the day with the steel bands. So there's all the things happening. Who knows what we might do as a company in the future? Maybe we might host workshops, do school tours, because we do from time to time go to schools, have conversations with children who are interested in theatre. So it might be in the cards for the future.
I love it. Sounds good.
Also, there are other plays that also deal with sex workers in a more sensitive way.
Yes.
Whereas I think Tony's work is very raw, and I think that rawness is what we want to tap more into and emphasize on.
Yeah. I mean, well, this is your platform. I mean, why should I come and see Jean Dinah on March 30th and 31st? Ruby is ready to go. Ruby, tell me.
Honestly, as Trinbagonian people, we love Bacchanal. And this play is Bacchanal from the beginning to the end.
Yes.
It is entertaining. I call it a dramatic comedy. It's a dramedy because it deals with serious themes, but it has you laughing in a way that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe she said that. I can't believe they're doing that. And it provides a relief, and it provides a release from whatever connotations we walk around with that we think society is judging us for.
Yeah.
And I think you can escape through these characters in watching the play.
Yeah. Chanel, what sort of impact are you hoping that the audience has after they see this? So, for example, I come out to see this play for the first time, and I'm leaving the theatre. What am I supposed to be thinking about? What thoughts am I supposed to be left with?
I think it's important for persons to hold on to whatever makes them feel the most comfortable within a production. You want to have a lasting impact on your audience. You want them to walk away feeling, okay, I understand this person better. I know someone like that. I can empathize with this story. Or it might be like, oh, that real angered me because it reminds me of a relationship that I had with I know you're thinking about your own life. We want people to walk away reflecting and just left with something, and not just come laugh with us in the auditorium and then leave and it's nothing. You always want your audience to leave with something, and that's the importance of theatre in general as a practice. Most people would say, theatre is dead, it's dying, it's gone. This is the age of TikTok and movies. But the one thing about theatre that will never die is the energy of the space. When someone walks into a theatre, it's like going on a roller coaster ride. It's like, if I watch a video of somebody going on a roller coaster on YouTube, I'd be like, yeah, they had a great time, but you don't have the feeling until you're actually on that ride. And when you hit that theater and you watch those actors in that space and you feel that energy yourself, it connects differently to the audience member. And we want people to connect with this story and all stories that we have to tell through theater.
Do you think this play can also create change? Whether it be the outlook you have on a sex worker or just anything like that. What sort of change you think a play like this in its raw form? Because I love that you mentioned you wanted raw, right? You want that sort of thing in the theatre.
Right.
Can this sort of create change?
I think this play informs and just kind of piggybacking on what Chanel had mentioned about seeing these people as people and being empathetic toward them and understanding that they have their right to say no and they have their right to their ownership of their body and they have their right to the ownership of their feelings and not to just see their career as a definition of who they are. And I think a lot of times we attach our personalities to our career and not see the person. And with this play, I'm hoping that outside of what they're titled to be, you see the persons and you see their story and you connect with that.
Can I just add to that?
Sure.
I think in our society today, there's so much polarization based on many different issues, whether it be race, class, politics, and we never really truly get inspiration from people who we think are different from us. And I think that's one of the things that we found as actors, delving into these characters, is finding inspiration in women that we most likely would not even look twice at, because we say, okay, well, I'm not like that. But it's important for us to understand that we can seek inspiration or get inspiration from anyone in society, because at the end of the day, we're all trained Begonians.
So now before we go, just tell us what day is taking place, where we can get tickets.
Thursday and Friday this week, 30th and 31st. You can get tickets at Queen's Hall box office or queenshalltt.com, or you can reach out to us, National Theatre Arts Company, on our social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. Just DM us and ask us for information on those tickets. They're $80, adults only.
And the play is at Queen's Hall.
Queen's Hall, yes.
Ladies, Ruby Parris, Chanel Glasgow-Quesnel, thank you so much for coming in. Miss
Thanks
Jean
for having
Dinah,
us.
I definitely learned a lot, and I hope that our audience did as well. And good luck with the production for the next few days.
Thank you.
All right?
so much.
And that's how we're going to end this segment here on the Now Morning Show. We're going to take a break and be right back. Stay with us.